Good morning, everyone. Happy Saturday. I do have on PJs underneath this today. We set up Christmas with our last year's Christmas pajamas, and these are my Christmas pajamas, and we're putting up the tree in just a few minutes while I'm watching the Clemson-Carolina game, which is coming on in just a few minutes. First of all, I'm sorry, Buffalo Bills fans, but you're not getting to me with your comments because I was not and am not and doubt I will ever be cocky about these Cowboys in the foreseeable future. So there's that. And B, I really like the Buffalo Bills, period. I really like Josh Allen. I like the way he plays. And I am honestly rooting for the best for you to take that vision away from the Patriots. So I'm sorry. You're just not going to get to me. Okay, back to the Cowboys. There's a lot of FGs on that little sort of a rant video, whatnot. Oh, by the way, I was over that loss like 20 minutes after I did that video. It was a little, what's the word, cathartic or something. It just got rid of all those demons. So I was over it quick. But there was a lot of FGs, a lot of fire Garretts or Garrett, whatever one you particularly chose. So it feels like at least 80 to 85% of the Dallas Cowboy fans want him out and are done with him. And like I said, the season isn't over. Still, my number one thing is for us to make a run, finish out these games and win every single one of them, go to the playoffs, and have a deep run to at least the NFC Championship game or the Super Bowl for me to be happy. Now, it seems like a pipe dream. It seems like a pipe dream, but that is still my number one hope. My number one hope is not to get rid of Garrett, but I just don't, right here, I just don't think it's going to work. I mean, we've seen this same movie over and over and over and over and over and over. Did I make 9 overs? And over. We've seen it over again, and now we're watching the same thing, and it's hard for us to be like, oh yeah, the Cowboys are going to do it now. We're going to run this thing. No, especially it's looking bad in the division because like I've said this almost every single week in my videos. Philadelphia is playing no one down the stretch. We've got to hope that the Miami Dolphins, the New York Giants, or the Washington Redskins beat the Philadelphia Eagles going down the stretch. We've got to hope that, just so we can, and we've got to hope we don't falter against the Bears in Chicago in cold weather again, against the Rams, and against our last game is the Skins, so we'll be fine there. Should be. Let me not take anything for granted. Let me not take anything for granted. All right. People said, and there was a few people that were backing Garrett or trying to take up for Garrett, and some people said Garrett didn't miss those kicks. Well, Mr. and Mrs. Garrett didn't miss those kicks. Garrett hired the kicker. Garrett has refused to this day. He is still on the team to fire the kicker. And so he is ultimately responsible for whatever that kicker does out there in the football field. He's not absolved from any responsibility because he didn't actually make the kick. Go find a better kicker. We've been complaining about our kicker forever. He's been missing kicks like crazy this year. Go find another kicker. People say Garrett didn't throw the ball on the ground on that 4th down play. Well, again, Garrett drafted the quarterback. Garrett's been teaching that quarterback since day one, since he got here. And if it is all the quarterback's fault and the quarterback is horrible, then Garrett is keeping that quarterback under center. That quarterback is also using Garrett's playbook. Garrett hired Kellen Moore, who is calling the plays, or Garrett's calling the plays. One of those two is calling the plays for that quarterback. And even with a touchdown on that play, if that was a perfect little 4th down at that, we had to 4th down. We're tripping over a 4th down play. Should have never gotten the 4th down. But if we would have hit him on that 4th down, and Zeke, I don't think it would have been a touchdown by any means. And Zeke made some incredible moves to get past those two guys and get to the end zone. We will still have lost because we couldn't stop the Bills. That one pass did not stop us from winning that football game. We couldn't stop the Bills. Is that Garrett's fault when we couldn't stop the Bills? Because Garrett's offense, is that Garrett's fault? Well, yes, because he pushed for the hiring of Monty Kiffin. If you don't remember, he pushed for Rod Marinelli to bring this Tampa 2 defense out of the early 2000s to the Dallas Cowboys. He was a part of that. He has kept and supported Rod Marinelli since. So again, it is his fault. And if any of this wasn't Garrett's call, or Garrett doesn't have the power to fire his subordinates or to get rid of a player or whatever, then it's clearly the fault of Jerry Jones. So it goes from Jerry Jones to Jason Garrett. That's it. That's our last 9 years, and it goes farther than 9 years with Jerry Jones. But I'm just concentrating on our last 9 years, has been the fault of Jason Garrett and or Jerry Jones. Period. All I know is we haven't had any deep playoff runs here in Dallas since he's been here. It's just been all hype or whatever. And people are also trying to say, this is another one. Garrett didn't play a snap. How is it his fault? How short-sighted can it get? If that's the case, that Garrett didn't take a snap, how is it his fault? Then no football coach in the history of football coaching deserves to be fired because not one coach has ever taken a snap. Coaches teach football and they have their players prepared. If they're not prepared, then it's on the coach. People try to blame Dak and Zeke. Again, short-sighted. I can keep it short with Zeke. Zeke is trying to do everything on his own with some poor blocking and poor run schemes. Period. That's my opinion. You're not going to get me off of that. Point blank. And Dak, Dak had some bad plays, of course. Dak had bad throws. But what quarterback goes back to pass for 43 times and doesn't have a problem? It's like Golden all the 43 times and don't make a mistake 43 times throwing the ball. That doesn't happen. We saw last week, if you watched the game between Philadelphia and Seattle, we saw Carson Wentz and Russell Wilson missed that same exact pass that some of you, that fourth down, chill, I'm still tripping over the fourth down. It's the fourth down, that same fourth down pass to Ezekiel Elliott that threw it in the dirt. Russell Wilson threw his in the dirt and Carson Wentz threw his way over the head. Same game, two good quarterbacks. And again, later on in that game, Russell Wilson was running toward the end zone and threw the ball 5 yards over his tight end, who was 10 yards away, wide open in the end zone. Could have caught the ball like that. Russell Wilson threw it way over the head. So I don't know what quarterbacks you think, and Russell probably should win the MVP, him or Lamar. I don't know what quarterback you're talking about that don't make mistakes throughout the game, doesn't press, and doesn't have problems and all that kind of stuff. It's the nature of that position. So let me put, with the Dak Prescott, let me put it in perspective here. Dak is leading the league in passing. He's not even a passer, guys. He's not even a passer first. He didn't come in the league as an arm guy. He didn't come in the league to throw the ball. And so he should, in my opinion, he should be in no way leading the league in passing. He should be in no way. I told you several times, my favorite Dak Prescott passes for 225 yards and one or maybe two touchdowns. One touchdown pass and one rushing touchdown, or something of that sort. But very conservative, very game managing-ish or whatever. But he gets trash talked about him and his coach makes him do this. Oh, dink and Dak. Well, you can't dink and Dak and get 3,700 yards or 3,800 yards already. So he's leading the league in passing yards with 3,788. He's on pace for 5,050 yards. 5,050 yards in the season. And that would place him around 10th or 11th all time. All time. Not 10th or 11th in the last few years. That would place him 10th or 11th all time in passing. Our Tony Romo never eclipsed 5,000 in his career. He only came close once to 5,000. So, and keep on rolling. With Romo, Dak's completion percentage this year is 66.7. Tony's career, he was 65.3. Dak's passer rating right now is 99.8. Romo's career rating was 97.3. So numbers-wise, Dak is doing slightly above what you've been watching for the last 15 years. No, excuse me. It's been longer than 15 years because prior to Romo, we were horrible at quarterback. Absolutely horrible. You have to go way back till you get to Aikman. So my point in this goes back to Jason Garrett, because if you've had what Dak has done recently, with all the records he's broken and how he's played since he's been a rookie, if you've had that plus everything that Tony Romo has done for this organization, if you've had all that for your entire coaching career and not once, not one time had a deep playoff run, not once, I don't know how you can call him a good coach. This is the year he's got to do it. We've got to do what I'm hoping for. We've got to win the rest of these games. All are winnable. All are winnable. We need to win the rest of these games, go into the playoffs, and play good football. And play very good football. That's what we got to do. Otherwise, get that man out of here, man. All right, guys. Have fun. Clemson, Carolina. Watch it. I'm scared of this game because they are spoilers, man. Carolina's trying to ruin it for us because we're just in South Carolina. It's just Clemson. So we'll have fun with that one. All right, guys. Holla. Peace.